Hello, my friend Sarah.
Hello, Louise.
How are you?
I'm good. It's been a week. How
It's
are
been a
you?
I'm good. I saw a funny Scream Truck post come up with our old truck today, and I have to send you a picture of it. It
Oh,
made me
it's like a
laugh.
memory thing. Oh,
A
gotcha. I was
memory.
like, what? Someone has a scream truck? Gotcha.
That they might actually
Easily could.
easily could. Well, here we are for our new adventure, which we love, our podcast, Megan Culhane Galbraith, The Guild of the Infant Saviour. We're reviewing pages 117 to 140 today for those reading along with us. And just
Yes.
right away, again, the writing is rich, rich, rich.
Yes. And this and early, she kind of gets into her adoptive parents. I like this line. I was ruthlessly loved. But that was a
Yeah. Yeah. Her adopted parents got the memo, come to get this baby. They weren't ready. And
Mhm.
I did like that her adopted mom put together a book, put that like tried to put
Which is
down
the
things.
the
Yeah.
subtitle of this book, An Adopted Child's Memory Book, which I
Mhm.
guess they must have made those
Yeah.
then, which I find interesting. It's you always the narrative is, oh, the adopted, we love you just as much as our own, but there's always the distinction, an adopted child,
An
adopted
adopted child.
child.
They were really excited to see her because she was plump with the big eyes and quizzical face and not a
Right. They were
skinny
expecting a
baby.
skinny baby.
It's a malnutrition baby, which it's kind of her the way she writes it to it is it's very satirical almost.
Hmm.
It's neat. Um yeah, so that part I feel like she got into a lot about her parents and um who they were. I mean, I was really fascinated with her mom, actually, the relationship with her mom and her dad later. What did you think? What struck you at that part?
Well, that she kind of goes into that a little bit later. First, she talked about meeting her birth mother, what she wore, what she
Oh
brought to
yeah.
meet her, um, and then kind of got into her adopted parents a little bit later. But it just I like how she went through again. Listeners highly recommend getting the book and actually
Yeah.
reading it. I think a lot of you have though, from what I've been
I
seeing in comments.
yeah.
But yes, so then she gets into the Consider the Lilies, which was something a poem her mother used to talk about, or was that from the Bible? I guess it was the Bible. Um, her mother was complicated
Very
and sounded
complicated.
like she did not share a lot with her daughter, and I thought, or her daughter, I don't know what the relationship with Megan's sister was like, but I thought I went through the whole chapter reading this and thinking about, her mother was uh, cold kind of.
Hmm.
Um, and then at the very end, Megan said something that made me think, oh, that is, and Megan, if you're listening, you have totally reach out and tell me I'm wrong. But what I got from that was at the very end when she said, oh, I realize now that I'm a parent how hard it is to be a
Yeah.
parent. And I felt like that was once again the adoptee taking the responsibility. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? What I'm
I
trying
had
to say?
no, I had the same feeling a little bit that she watched her mom, her mom was such a product of what was going on too. So she had the stress of her dad who she had all the children's stress, right? All the child stress and had to look nice for these things, but wasn't living her true life for her, like a
Which I think in
masking.
that era was
Yeah.
super common
I
that
think it was super common.
mhm.
And so she never had she would say to her, what was the one thing her mom would say to her? Be yourself.
Just be
No,
yourself.
just
Just
be
be
yourself.
yourself.
Be
And
yourself and you'll
Megan's
be
like,
fine.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who I am.
Yes.
How can I be somebody I don't know who that is?
Yeah. So, in what you're talking about, I kind of took it as two parts. She, at the very end, was like, my mom couldn't be herself because of her role in the society and what was going on in her father, how her father was really needy and all these things that came out to haunt Megan later once her mom passed, right?
Mhm.
But then also, you know how you have kids, you think a certain thing, and then when you have your own children, you think, how did my mom juggle all this, right? So I think it was all that, and then also a little bit of the adoptee, like, oh, you know,
Right,
it,
right, and I didn't
mhm.
mean it was only that.
Yeah, right. But
It
I had a
was all
sense
the
of
other
it
stuff
too.
too, but
I want
it just
Megan,
yes.
you have to let us know because I had a little twinge of it too. Like, oh, and I do that, by the way. My mom passed away. I do all that kind of stuff. So we rewrite our histories and our moments,
Mhm.
and we are still full of guilt. You and I talk about this all the time. How are we not?
I just feel guilty all the time. Um,
Every
yeah.
time we podcast, I feel guilty and then I don't. But I think, no, I don't. I'm an adult. I can make a voice. I have a voice. I want to talk about this issue for other adoptees, other people, the bigger
And it is
picture.
also has a catharsis
It does.
for us as well.
It does. But it still comes up, right? We're deep
I
in it.
relate so much to Megan though. I just
Me too.
so much she says uh I feel like I could have all of my own feelings
Yeah,
just
here's a quote. It might be kind of jumping out, but I thought of you. I've circled Sarah Louise with big stars. Um, she's used to search her mom's room for things. Like, and I did this. I didn't know. I was going to ask you before we got on if you did this, but she used to go when her mom was very particular about her things. So it's not like she could go and just search through her mom's things. She had to like make sure put it all back. And I used to go that. I used to go into my mom's room and think it was this wonderland, like, oh, the nightgowns and the perfume. And I still picture my mom's perfume, what it smelled like. So she had this, I conducted my inventories in secret, knowing mom would feel it was an invasion of her privacy. I did it perhaps to hew some form of identity for myself. I was adopted, and while it didn't occur to me consciously at that time, looking back, I realized I felt out of place. Or maybe I was trying to find my place within the family via objects. Something always seemed to be missing for me, a piece of myself that I couldn't classify, something within me, but at the same time unreachable. I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to recognize it.
mhm.
I felt like half my childhood was that sort of feeling of trying to find myself in my house.
Yes.
That's why our homes are so important to us now, I
Uh,
think.
the other thing that I really had a kind of a parallel with her was when she was talking about watching her mom get ready and
Mm,
my mom sang in a band. Well, she was the organist at our church and in the
hmm.
choir, but then she also had this band and she would sing at the top of the Holiday Inn. Is it the
Wow.
Holiday Inn or the
I didn't know
Ramada
that.
Inn? The top of the round it was called, and it was this round,
Yeah,
like Holiday Inn
cool.
building. And she would sing and I would watch her get dressed up. She'd wear these maxi dresses and she had wiglets and
Oh, she probably looked
makeup, and it
amazing.
looks so glamorous to me. And so anyway, look, I had a kind of a flashback when I
Yeah,
was reading that about Megan's mom.
watching your mom. I could see her looking cute like that, by the way. If you're listening, Barbara. Um, yeah, there was a lot of nostalgia. I maybe
Hmm.
that there's a lot, and I think a lot of readers would have nostalgia with this because just how she describes, you're at home, she went through normal stuff that you're not analyzing while you're going through it. High school,
Right.
never comfortable in your own body. I was never comfortable in my body. And sports kind of help that, but kind of like, I didn't want to change in front
That's
of
also
people.
societal,
Yeah,
what
both.
female bodies should look like, and
Yep, all of it.
it is uncomfortable. Hormones are uncomfortable.
It is. Well, then there's some more.
I did
Yeah.
a few little highlights that I have. My
Mm-hmm.
focus as an adopted child was more about trying not to make waves.
Uh-huh. That
But
makes
here
sense.
she put, about her mother not sharing her feelings, she didn't allow me to help her through them or to understand them in contrast or in complement to mine. By taking it all on, I feel it was the beginning of a hot little ball of resentment within her.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of this in here. That's why everybody should be reading along. And one thing that we didn't talk about that was important in her mom's life was that poem. So she had a poem at the back of her closet, wasn't it? The back?
Yes.
And the poem had all these things about, who you are. If a child isn't talked to nicely, they'll grow up like this. Or if you're not supported, you'll grow up like
Yes.
this. I have to look up this poem, but she ended up.
I've seen it before. It's,
Have you?
just about, yes, it's a famous
Mm-hmm.
thing about how if a child lives with sadness, she learns to be sad. If it, all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff.
And she used to read it and not know how to apply to her, but it fascinated her and she'd read it and didn't understand the words. And now it's in her home. Like it's one of the things she took with her. And she said this part kind of resonated with me. The same poem in the same frame now hangs above a dresser in my bedroom. It carries a heavier weight for me. If mom were still alive, I might ask her what the poem meant to her. I might ask her if she felt as I do, the parenting as much of a balancing act as a burden, which is an interesting line. I might ask her if she felt it was hard as I do to take to take care of yourself when you're trying to launch your children into the world. So I had a little bit of like, oh, that part, it made me stop from it and reread it. Just the whole, I felt like I was dealing with a lot when I was raising my own child. And now my mom's gone and I can't ask her. I mean, there's all these things once your parents die, your adopted parents or your biological parents, that's the end of the questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom and I were just starting to really have these great conversations about me being adopted and stuff. And then she died. And now I'm like, oh, why didn't I ask her these feelings? Did she think this? Did she think I was different than my brother? I didn't know to ask. And now I'm
Yeah.
dying to ask.
Well, and also, you started kind of this wasn't going on with you when your mom was still
No,
alive.
no, but we
So
had like my wedding where she met my bio family and we just started to have these like deep talks, right? And then she was ill. So it was, my brother would say, lay off the deep talk. I'd come to visit and it was like stress, like quiz her, but it was a lot. And I think I like that she took that poem and I'm wondering.
it reminded me of in A.M. Holmes's book, when she kept the table for,
The table of her grandmother.
yeah, I mean, it kind of correlated the two.
Yeah. And what else do you think? Because there's a lot more before the end here. There's there is that if a child lives with sadness, she learns to be ...
Mhm.
I haven't heard that poem, by the way.
I saw it. I mean, it's kind of a famous poem about how to raise children, how to speak in front of them, how to speak
Mm-hmm.
to them, how to, all that stuff. Well, that was great.
It was great. It was excellent. It's always excellent. It
And
puts me in a really deep thought, though.
we are more than halfway through this book at this point. So,
I can't believe it.
yes, I can't either.
Well, we have a cool guest coming up. I'm
We
excited.
do. Yes. As
He's great.
always.
As always. Okay. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.